Lan the Clever. Known as the legendary trickster of the West, Lan's power lay not in his strength, but his supreme cunning. He infamously stole Casterly Rock from its rightful owners, establishing it as the seat of House Lannister. The legends of how Lan accomplished his conquest vary wildly, but however he managed it, the outcome was decisive. The Casterlys fled, and Lan took the rock, supposedly living to the remarkable age of 312 and siring hundreds of golden-haired sons and daughters. His descendants were so numerous that they eventually populated the neighboring port city of Lannisport, establishing a cadet branch that would serve House Lannister for generations to come. Though Lan himself never claimed the title of king, he is remembered in lore as the first king of the Rock. Loreon Lannister. Known to history as the Lion, he was the architect of the Lannister monarchy. As the first to formally style himself King of the Rock, Loreon elevated the family from mere mountain dwellers to regional sovereigns. His reign was defined by the brutal 20-year war against Morgan Banefort, the Hooded King, a rival First Men monarch rumored to be a powerful sorcerer. Loreon also chose the Golden Lion as the Lannisters' official sigil. Legend has it that he kept a pride of these lions in chambers beneath his throne to eat his enemies, a form of justice that Tywin Lannister would echo thousands of years later. By marrying a daughter of House Rain, he also began the family tradition of consolidating power through marriage, turning rivals into loyal allies and followers. Tywin Lannister. Known to history as the Lion King, he ruled roughly a century before the arrival of Aegon the Conqueror, around 100 to 90 BC. Tywin's reign was characterized by a singular obsession that would eventually consume him: the wealth and sorcery of the ruined Valyrian freehold. At the time, the Valyrian freehold was the most advanced and powerful civilization in the history of the known world, with unrivaled knowledge of sorcery and limitless treasure. Following the catastrophic doom that destroyed the freehold in 102 BC, Tywin became convinced that immense riches lay unguarded in the smoking sea. Ignoring all warnings, he assembled a massive golden fleet and set sail with the intent of plundering the ruins. He carried with him the ultimate symbol of his house's pride and wealth, the ancestral Valyrian Steel greatsword, Bright Roar. Neither Tywin, his ships, nor the priceless sword were ever seen or heard from again. This remains one of the greatest mysteries in Westeros. Do you think Bright Roar is still out there in the ruins of Valyria, or is it gone forever? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Moving forward to the era of the Dragon Lords. Loren Lannister. Loren the Last was the final king of the Rock, ruling during the War of Conquest. In 2 BC, Aegon Targaryen landed on the shores of Westeros with only a small army, but an overwhelming advantage: 3 fully grown dragons. Realizing that no single kingdom could stand alone against the Targaryens, Loren forged an alliance with King Myrn of the Reach. Together, they assembled the 55,000-strong host of the two kings, the largest army Westeros had ever seen. For a fleeting moment, this alliance seemed unstoppable. The two forces clashed on the plains south of the Blackwater Rush. But for the first and only time, all 3 Targaryen dragons, Balerion, Vhagar, and Meraxes, soared into the sky together, turning the entire battlefield into an inferno. By the time the field of fire was over, House Gardener had been exterminated. Loren somehow survived the massacre, and bent the knee to Aegon the next day. He realized that dying with honor was meaningless if it left his people without a leader. In return for his submission, Aegon spared his life and allowed him to retain his title as Lord of Casterly Rock and Warden of the West. Lyman Lannister. The first great protector of the family during the early years of the Targaryen dynasty. Ruling over Casterly Rock after the death of Loren the Last, in 42 AC, Lyman was immediately forced into a high-stakes game of political survival during the reign of Maegor the Cruel. When Maegor seized the throne, Lyman offered refuge at Casterly Rock to Prince Aegon and Princess Rhaena Targaryen. Lyman was a cautious lion. Despite protecting the young royals, he refused to commit his armies to their rebellion against the crown, waiting to see which way the dragon winds blew. His tenure is best remembered for the golden wedding at King's Landing between Alyssa Valleyan and Rhaegar Baratheon in 49 AC following the death of Maegor. He arrived accompanied by an impressive entourage of 300 knights along with their attendants, showcasing the Lannisters' wealth and influence. Lyman Lannister died peacefully in his bed around 60 AC. Jason Lannister. Jason inherited the lordship from his father, Tywin Lannister, during the reign of King Viserys I. He is portrayed in House of the Dragon as a brash and supremely confident figure who embodied his family's vast wealth and pride, using it to court Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen by offering to make her Lady of Casterly Rock. However, the princess found him tedious and conceited, remarking that she would rather be fed to a dragon than wed him. This personal slight simmered for years, directly influencing Jason's decision to side with the Greens when the Dance of the Dragons ignited in 129 AC. While leading a Lannister host into the Riverlands to crush Black loyalists, Jason was slain at the Red Fork by a squire known as Pate of Longleaf, who was subsequently knighted as the Lion Slayer. Jason's death dealt a significant blow to the Green faction. Tywin Lannister. Jason's younger twin, Sir Tywin, was never destined to sit on the high seat of Casterly Rock. Instead, he carved his legacy in the shadows of the Red Keep, serving as a pillar of the Lannister bloodline through the reigns of 3 different kings. Tywin was the house's administrative genius, rising to become the master of ships and later the master of coin. When the Dance of the Dragons erupted, Tywin became one of the Green faction's key strategists. In a move of great foresight, he seized the royal treasury and divided the crown's gold into 4 parts, sending one to the Iron Bank and another to Casterly Rock, leaving his rival Rhaenyra financially crippled. His loyalty came at a price, however. When the capital fell, Tywin was subjected to years of torture. He was blinded, gelded, and mutilated, yet he never broke. When the war finally ended in 131 AC, he emerged as a ghostly figure known as the Hooded Hand. Despite his scars, the young king Aegon III kept him as Hand, recognizing that Tywin's mind was sharper than any blade. He died in 133 AC of the Winter Fever. Daemon Lannister was known as the Grey Lion. He was the grandson of Lord Jason Lannister and the great-grandfather of Tywin. Despite his formidable nickname, Daemon's military record during the First Blackfyre Rebellion in 196 AC was distinctly underwhelming. He was defeated in the Westerlands by the legendary rebel knight Sir Quentyn Fireball Ball and was prevented from reaching the decisive Battle of the Red Grass Field. In his later years, Daemon's fading prowess was on public display at the tourney at Ashford Meadow in 209 AC, where he was unhorsed in his very first tilt by Lord Leo Longthorn Tyrell. His reign ended abruptly in 210 AC when he perished during the Great Spring Sickness, a plague that also claimed the High King and his heirs. Gerald Lannister. Often called Gerald the Golden, Lord Gerald was the 3rd son of Daemon the Grey Lion. Gerald ruled Casterly Rock from 213 AC to 244 AC. His rise to power was shrouded in scandal. He inherited the lordship only after his elder brother Tybalt died in 212 AC and the mysterious death of Tybalt's young daughter, Sorel, shortly after. While whispers accuse Gerald of murdering his niece to seize the rock, history remembers him as one of the most capable administrators the West ever produced. Under him, the Lannister gold mines reached peak production, and he turned Lannisport into a global hub of trade, ensuring the West was more prosperous than at any time since the conquest. Gerald's domestic life, however, was blighted by tragedy. He outlived his 2 eldest sons, Tywald and Tyon, who were killed in 233 AC and 236 AC during the Peak Uprising and the Fourth Blackfyre Rebellion, respectively. As a result, he spent his final years trying to toughen up his 3rd son, the soft-hearted Tydos. When he died of a bladder ailment in 244 AC, he left behind a kingdom of unparalleled wealth, but he left it in the hands of a son who was entirely unsuited for the harsh realities of lordly rule, Tytos Lannister. Tytos was the Laughing Lion, a title that became a cruel joke across Westeros. Succeeding his father in 244 AC, Tytos hungered for approval above all else. He lacked the iron will required to rule, and his 23-year reign saw the near-total collapse of Lannister authority. Tydos allowed his vassals to borrow gold from the rock without repayment, and laughed off public insults to avoid conflict. This weakness emboldened House Rain and House Tarbeck, who grew so complacent that they began to seize lands and settle disputes without ever consulting their liege lord. By the 250s AC, the Lannister name had become a laughingstock. Titus's personal life was equally disastrous. Following the death of his wife, Jane Marbrand, in 255 AC, he fell under the influence of a common-born mistress who began wearing his late wife's jewels and issuing orders to the castle staff. This period of humiliation scarred his eldest son, Tywin, who watched on in fury as the family's dignity was dismantled. Tytos died of a heartburst in 267 AC while climbing a flight of stairs to see his mistress. His death was the catalyst for Tywin's rise. Tywin Lannister. Born in 242 AC, Tywin spent his life compensating for the weakness of his father. He first gained notoriety in 261 AC when he led the Lannister host to completely exterminate houses Rain and Tarbeck for their betrayal. He crushed the Tarbecks swiftly. Then he cornered the Rains inside their underground stronghold of Castamere, sealed off every escape and diverted a river into the mines, flooding it and drowning the entire House Rain inside their own halls. Those actions birthed the haunting song, The Rains of Castamere, ensuring that no vassal would ever dare defy the Rock again. This ruthlessness caught the eye of King Aerys II, who named Tywin the youngest hand of the king in history. For 20 years, Tywin effectively ruled the Seven Kingdoms, bringing a golden age of stability and law that made him the most respected and feared man in the known world. Despite his public triumphs, Tywin's personal life was defined by the death of his wife and cousin, Joanna, in 273 AC. Her death during childbirth destroyed his capacity for joy and left him with a murderous resentment toward his youngest son, Tyrion. Tywin's legacy is a paradox. He was a brilliant strategist who secured the Iron Throne for his grandchildren through the Red Wedding in 299 AC, yet his obsession with the Lannister legacy ultimately tore his own family apart. He was killed in 300 AC by Tyrion while sitting on a privy. His death left a power vacuum that signaled the beginning of the end for the Lannister dynasty. If you are enjoying this comprehensive history of the Lions of the Rock, please affirm your loyalty by hitting subscribe so you don't miss our breakdown of the other great houses. Joanna Lannister. Though she never held a formal title beyond Lady of Casterly Rock, Joanna was the heart of the house during its most influential years. Born in the 240s AC to Sir Jason Lannister, Tywin's uncle, she was Tywin's first cousin and the only person he was ever said to truly love. Their marriage in 263 AC was a rare instance of a Lannister union built on genuine affection. It was joked that while Tywin ruled the Seven Kingdoms, Joanna ruled Tywin at home. She was a woman of grace and wit who served as Tywin's most trusted advisor. While she lived, the halls of Casterly Rock were filled with music and laughter, offsetting her husband's natural coldness. In 273 AC, she died giving birth to her third child, Tyrion. Her tragic death not only acted as a catalyst for the family's future misery, it also scuttled a secret plan with the Princess of Dorne to wed their children together, a marriage pact that might have prevented the War of the Five Kings. Kevan Lannister. The second son of Tyros Lannister, Sir Kevan was the quintessential, loyal shadow to his brother Tywin. While Tywin provided the iron will, Kevan provided the tireless execution, serving as his brother's most trusted captain and confidant for nearly 40 years. During the War of the Five Kings, 298 to 300 AC, Kevan was the backbone of the Lannister military effort, commanding their host with a steady hand. Following Tywin's death in 300 AC, his true capabilities were finally revealed to the realm. As Lord Regent for his great-nephew, King Tommen, he began the impossible task of repairing the damage caused by Cersei's erratic rule. In a matter of months, he stabilized the alliance with the Tyrells and began restoring order to the war-torn Riverlands. However, his very success proved to be his undoing. Varys, the Spider, recognized that a stable Lannister regime under Kevan would prevent the return of the Targaryens. On a snowy night in 300 AC, Kevan was assassinated in his chambers by Varys and his little birds. Genna Lannister. The only daughter of Tyros, Genna was a woman of sharp wit who famously married beneath her. In 252 AC, her father betrothed her to Aemon Frey, the second son of the prickly Walder Frey. The match was an insult to Lannister prestige. At 7 years old, Tywin spoke out against it, and the scandal defined the family's internal politics for decades. Despite being tied to a man she considered a whining fool, Genna became the matriarchal force of the house. She effectively ruled the Frey household and served as a crucial advisor during the Siege of Riverrun in 300 AC, where she told her nephew Jaime that Tyrion was Tywin's true son, not him. Genna's story is one of survival through intellectual dominance in a world of brutish men. She was remarkably perceptive, recognizing the flaws in her kin long before they did. In the later stages of the War of the Five Kings, she was granted the seat of Riverrun for her husband, though everyone knew it was Genna who would truly hold the castle. Tygett Lannister. Born in 250 AC as the third son of Tyros, Tygett was known to his siblings as Tyg, and defined by both a fierce warrior spirit and a growing sense of bitterness. He was a formidable knight who fought with distinction during the War of the Ninepenny Kings in 260 AC. However, as the years passed, Tygett struggled to find a place for himself in the shadow of his brother Tywin's monumental success. While Tywin ruled the realm and Kevan served as his right hand, Tygett felt like a spare part. He was known for having a quick, violent temper and a sharp tongue, often clashing with Tywin over his lack of autonomy. He eventually married Darlessa Marbrand and fathered a son, Tyrek, but he never escaped the feeling of being an afterthought in his own house. He died in 285 AC from a pox. His legacy was further marred during the King's Landing riots of 299 AC when his son Tyrek vanished without a trace, leaving the line effectively extinct. Gerion Lannister. The youngest son of Tydos, Gerion was the smiling lion. He possessed the jovial nature of his father and the wit and charm of a true Lannister prince. Gerion was the favorite uncle of Tyrion, to whom he taught the art of tumbling and the value of a well-placed joke. However, beneath his smiles was a deep-seated restlessness. In 291 AC, 10 years after Jaime joined the Kingsguard and Tywin had consolidated his power, Gerion announced a quest that many considered a fool's errand. He intended to sail to the ruins of Valyria to recover Brightroar, the ancestral sword lost by King Tommen the 2nd centuries earlier. He set sail on a ship named the Laughing Lion and headed into the Smoking Sea. Gerion's expedition was a disaster. He was last seen in Volantis, where half his crew deserted him out of fear of the curse of Valyria. He pushed on with a skeleton crew and was never seen again. For years, the family held out hope for his return, and Tywin spent a fortune sending search parties to find him, all to no avail. His disappearance remains one of the great Lannister mysteries. Cersei Lannister. Born in 266 AC as the eldest child of Tywin and Joanna, Cersei spent her life pursuing the power she felt her gender denied her. Married to King Robert Baratheon in 284 AC to seal the alliance that ended the Targaryen dynasty, she turned her marriage into a fortress of secrets, protecting the truth that their 3 children were fathered by Cersei's true love, twin brother Jaime. In 298 AC, when Robert's suspicious death led to war, Cersei's paranoia took the wheel. As Queen Regent, she systematically dismantled the stability her father had spent decades building. In 300 AC, she armed the Faith Militant in a desperate bid to outmaneuver her rivals. The move backfired spectacularly and led to her own public humiliation. Her story is a tragic cycle of self-fulfilling prophecy, haunted by Maggie the Frog's prediction that she would lose her children to golden shrouds. She became the very architect of the conflict that killed them. Cersei inherited her father's capacity for cruelty, but without the patient foresight that had made the Great Lion legendary. Jaime Lannister. Born moments after Cersei, Jaime was the Golden Lion, a man caught between duty, lies, and love. At just 15, he became the youngest knight ever to join the Kingsguard. This apparent honor was actually a political trap designed by Aerys to rob Tywin of his heir. Jaime's legacy was forever sealed in 283 AC when he stabbed the Mad King in the back to prevent the wildfire destruction of King's Landing. Though he saved 500,000 lives, the world branded him Kingslayer. His arrogant persona shattered in 299 AC when he was captured at the Whispering Wood, and subsequently lost his sword hand to the sellsword Vargo Hoat. This mutilation forced a grueling psychological rebirth. Stripped of the skill that defined him, Jaime began a slow, painful crawl towards redemption. As he took command of the Siege of Riverrun in 300 AC, he finally chose to lead with his mind rather than his blade, successfully ending the conflict without shedding a drop of blood. He also realized he could never truly escape the gravitational pull of his sister. In 305 AC, during Daenerys' assault on the capital, Jaime returned to Cersei one last time. The twins, born together, died together in the collapse of the Red Keep. Tyrion Lannister. The youngest child of Tywin, he was regarded as the imp whose birth poisoned the Lannister family tree, killing his mother, Joanna. For this, he was subjected to a lifetime of resentment from his father and sister. Despite his physical stature, Tyrion was Tywin's intellectual successor, with a mind more than capable of navigating the deadly waters of King's Landing. During the Battle of the Blackwater in 299 AC, he saved the city from Stannis Baratheon with wildfire and wit, only to be betrayed by his own kin and accused of murdering King Joffrey in 300 AC. Tyrion escaped his cell and discovered his father in bed with Shae, the same woman he had condemned as a whore to humiliate Tyrion. Faced with his father's hypocrisy, Tyrion killed Tywin with a crossbow. This act of patricide broke the Lannister dynasty, sending Tyrion into exile as a fugitive across the Narrow Sea, where he eventually found his way to Daenerys Targaryen in Essos. Recognizing his brilliant mind, Daenerys named him her Hand of the Queen during the invasion of Westeros. Though the war brought him into direct conflict with his siblings, Tyrion sought to break the wheel of constant warfare. After the final fall of the Targaryen dynasty in 305 AC, Tyrion was named the Lord of Casterly Rock and Hand of the King to Bran Stark. Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen Baratheon. The three golden children born of Cersei Lannister and Jaime Lannister, raised as Baratheons. Joffrey the eldest possessed the typical Lannister traits of arrogance and cruelty, but without the cunning. Crowned in 298 AC, he detonated the War of the Five Kings when he ordered the execution of Ned Stark. His reign was short, violent, and defined by public humiliation and terror, ending in 300 AC at the Purple Wedding, where he was poisoned in a conspiracy led by Olenna Tyrell and Littlefinger, dying in his mother's arms as the first fulfillment of Maggie the Frog's prophecy. Myrcella stood in stark contrast. Gentle, kind, and quietly resilient, she was sent to Dorne in 299 AC as part of Tyrion Lannister's political maneuvering, becoming betrothed to Prince Trystane Martell. Though she found fleeting peace in Sunspear, it wasn't to last. In the novels, she was grievously maimed in 300 AC during a failed attempt to crown her queen, while in the television telling she was murdered by Ellaria Sand with a poisoned kiss, dying in Jaime's arms moments after affirming her love for him. Tommen, born in 291 AC, was the youngest and most tragic of all. Sweet-natured, timid, and deeply unsuited to rule, he ascended the throne in 300 AC after Joffrey's death. A king in name only, Tommen was crushed between the competing influences of Cersei and Margaery Tyrell, retreating into childish comforts, his kittens and his seals, while the realm unraveled. His story ended not in intrigue, but despair. After Cersei destroyed the great sept of Baelor and killed his wife, Tommen took his own life, bringing the line of Cersei's golden children to its final devastating close. Thanks for watching this deep dive into every character of House Lannister. Check out our complete dive into the characters of House Stark next.